My guest this evening is the first guest to make his third appearance on the show, but he won't be holding that distinction for long. He is a fan favorite drummer, musician, and attorney. He is also the king of parallel parking. Please welcome back to the Eclectic Arts virtual studio, Mr. Wade Murff. Wade.
Yeah. What's up?
There he is, the king in the flesh.
No, I know what you're talking about too, because I posted something about that. I've been parking on the street here in North Hollywood, and it's pretty tight. Well, it's LA, you know.
Yeah.
And I kind of pride myself on my ability to park. I mean, I can really fit into some small spots, but like I posted a picture of it and kind of bragged about it, and then I had a bunch of comments below it saying like, "Oh, that's nothing. I can do that," you know, like. But like, but it's you know, I cut my parallel parking teeth in Portland, Oregon, and that place is crazy because it's like people say, well, Portland, it's not really a big city or anything, but like in the past 20 years, like there's been all sorts of, I mean, it's got the 10th largest or 10th highest growth rate of all US metropolitan areas. And so it's growing. I mean, there's a lot of like people, like a lot of industries coming there. Marketing, tech is coming to Portland. And so it's got this infrastructure. It's like these really small roads. I mean, some areas in Northeast or Southeast, sorry, it's so narrow that you get, like when there's cars parked on both sides, you can barely get one car through it. It almost looks like there should just be like horses going down it or something. So it's like you have this influx of people and it's just getting more and more crowded. And a lot of them are from the Bay Area or Los Angeles, where especially Southern California, you know, everybody's like loves their car, and they come up to Portland and there's this infrastructure that's not really built for all these cars, and the government's trying to like get everybody to take the piss bus, you know, like, and ride the tram and walk or ride bikes. And there's a million, or not literally a million, but there's a lot of biking up there, and there is a lot of walking. But there's a lot of driving too. And so the traffic sucks up there, and like parking, I just got really, really good at it. I'm always shocked. There's like videos on YouTube of people probably parallel parking failures in Portland. I don't know if you've seen any of those.
No, I haven't.
Like people try to parallel park, and then they spend 10 minutes trying to do it, and they just give up and drive away. It's hilarious.
I've been that person every now and then here in Seattle, but it usually depends on how much time. Like if I'm trying to catch a show and I'm running kind of late and I can't get in there, then I might just go somewhere further away. But if I got time, then it becomes like a challenge. Like I'm going to get into that spot.
Yeah, Seattle is. I'm like frightened of the parking situation in Seattle. Like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm afraid I'm going to get like ticketed or towed.
Yeah, it's the signage doesn't make any sense a lot of times. So even if you're trying to see, is this okay, or you're looking for paint on the curb to see if it's
Right.
a restricted area, and it's faded or it's gone, or you see two colors, so you're like, I see yellow and I see red. What does this mean?
I have to say, Portland actually has, it's really near the Rose Garden Arena. There's a street that literally has two signs on it. Like it's called, I can't remember what it's called. I was trying to catch an Uber in that area, and it said meet on this one street, and I could not find the street. And then I realized it's literally in one spot. It's two different streets. It's one street with two different names.
Oh my God, that's real helpful. For people. So I mean, like we were talking pre-show, you were on May 29th and June 5th, and here we are. It's almost August now, and I know since I'm still obviously following you on social media that you definitely seem to read up on certain things of whatever kind of comes across your purview or whatever you have an interest in, and it's interesting the things that you tend to share in terms of articles, because every now and then I'll actually read one instead of just looking at the headline or whatever.
Yeah.
And we, again, that's what we were talking about this pre-show, that sometimes people's opinions, at least in all of this, protesting and controversy and pandemic and everything, it's getting to this point where it's like this huge divide of like, you're either this way or you're this way. And if you want to talk about it, then you're some weird oddball person that if you want to actually have a discussion about something in a rational situation, it's like it's gone out the window. And it's really, really too bad, because you can't understand each other then if you don't have discussion and conversation.
Yeah.
And we were both kind of agreeing with that. And but more in general for you, and again, it's everywhere around the U.S. for the most part, things are locking back down. And even up here in Seattle, I mean, it was like 93 on Monday, so people don't want to lock back down into anything. They want to enjoy their summer. But how are you kind of coping? Because again, back when we were doing these interviews the first time, it kind of felt like, well, we're getting kind of coming around the bend. Maybe we're going to kind of start looking a little bit better by July. And
we
now
were so naive back then. We thought, I'm just doing the same thing. I'm doing as much legal as I can, which is, not a lot right now. And then playing a lot of drums and working on a lot of music. I have a couple of things, possible projects that I might be getting involved in. But for the most part, I'm just doing my own thing. All of our touring with Doyle is postponed until next year. I do think so. We had the Doyle dates rescheduled with Life in Agony. Those are scheduled for the fall. We had Australia, all that's gone, and then but the rescheduled dates in the fall, those are gone now. So I think they'll try to redo it for 2021. But on a daily basis, I'm trying to create as much content as I can, and I'm doing what I think a lot of people are doing that are in music, using the time to create and just work on my craft, and I do what I always have done. I just treat it like a really, really serious job, and that's kind of really the only way I function. It's like turned up to 10 or completely turned off. I don't know how to mellow out. But I am starting to incorporate rest days. I haven't been really good at finding, balance. People always talk about, oh, you just need balance, and I know that they're right. I know that it's true, but I have the hardest time doing it. I know I'm not the only one. I guess call it workaholic or whatever, but I treat those rest days like they are an actual work day. Like, this is something that I have to do. This is an obligation. And because I put that pressure on myself, it makes resting easier. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean, because it's the same thing. Like if somebody needs to, like, let's say they need to get out and exercise on a regular basis.
Yeah.
If they don't put it into their schedule, they don't do it. And if you put, I need to take a break here for 2 hours on Wednesday afternoons, then I need to do that, because otherwise you're going to work right through it and do something else. And you and I kind of talked about that. I think we kind of come from this background pre-pandemic where you're always hustling constantly. So when this pandemic hit, it's kind of like, well, shit, now what am I supposed to do? Because I'm used to, I'm used to grinding and trying to get ahead any which way that I can.
Right.
And now it's like, I'm still trying to get ahead, but at the same time, I struggle with this whole balance thing. I think I'm getting a little bit better at it. But if I don't remind myself, and so the guest last night, we were talking about that. I still write stuff on my paper calendar that's on my wall. So I know what I did, what I need to do. And it helps give me some sense of normalcy. And also, it does remind me, hey, don't be on 10, be on 5 today. That's okay.
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah,
so
that's a good plan.
Yeah, she was talking, she's still got her scheduler and she's still writing stuff in. And it could be something as mundane as I'm going out to get food on Friday. Because otherwise you start, we talked about this before, all the days start to blend together, your months blend together. You hear all the crap that's going on outside in society. So it's like, what kind of schedule is going to work for me that I can feel good about it, still feel productive, but then also know, I did find a way to get those breaks in there. You know, I know you have a dog, walk your dog, you know, any of these kind of things,
Yeah.
because it's easy to get past it and just get into this routine that's not necessarily healthy,
Right.
when it's one-sided.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, it's almost like you have to, I like that idea of scheduling, writing things down and maybe almost planner style. It's really hard to stay on top of that. You know, you have to like form habits and everything. But I mean, yeah, if you don't watch out, you can really get into like, well, I guess they call it a rut, you know, whether it's a productive rut or whatever, you know,
Hmm.
you do always have to find balance, and you do have to rest. Those rest days are just as important as the work days, I think.
Yeah, they are. And now that we kind of know that we're in this for a marathon or two or three marathons,
Yeah, man.
that's that's what made my mentality have to shift, because I kept thinking, well, I can make it till July, or I can make it through the summer, but now we're talking about making it into next year.
Right.
So it's like, well, shit, if I don't start getting some better habits together, including like, so
Right.
for example, I'm terrible about exercising. You know, I used to love doing it, and then when I had some issues with my knees, I kind of backed off from it. But like in the last couple of weeks, I've been back out at the track doing my thing. I just kind of notched down what I was doing, so I'm not putting so much pressure on my exercise routine. But it's been so good for me, and I know it's good for me. I love doing it. I love being outside and all that. But I guess got into this rut of like, oh no, I got that to do, or I got to check this other email, I got to book this other guest. It's like, well, yeah, you can still do that, but carve out some time. So for me, I literally had to write it down and say, at 10
Yeah.
o'clock, you go do this. And on this day, you know, don't do it, you know, give yourself a break, because I start getting into this thing like, well, I should keep getting out there because then I'll lose more weight and I'll feel even better and all this kind of stuff. Like, no, no, no. I'll probably like, you know, break my ankle or some goofy thing,
Yeah.
because I'm an old man now. So I have to just, again, find that balance. But if I don't remind myself on paper, man, I got problems. I will just slip
Sure.
back into what I'm used to.
Yeah.
Um, but so yeah, it's crazy. I mean, we just like we were saying, we just do the best that we can. And you know, one thing I wanted to ask you that I kind of mentioned before we set up this particular interview was that, like when I was a young musician, you always dream about, like I remember looking through like Guitar World and seeing the ads for like Gibsons or Fenders or Sharples, or see the new guitars that were coming out, thinking, oh man, if I ever make it in a band and I'm gonna, you know, when I get the money, I'm gonna go buy one of those things.
Yeah.
And then once you kind of get established, and maybe you have some money, someone might, a company might come along and actually endorse you or sponsor you, and then they give you that stuff. It's kind of ass
Yeah.
backwards. I know that you are sponsored by certain companies for the various drum equipment that you use.
Yeah.
What's that process like? Because I've actually never asked any musician about that. It's like, do the companies come to you? Do you try to say, like, hey, look what I'm using? I'm using your cymbals here, Feisty. I could maybe use your sponsor. How does that kind of work?
Yeah. Well, I can only speak from my situation. I do see other people kind of just endorsing products, you know, maybe hoping to attract these other manufacturers. I did that, by the way. I looked through the Modern Drummer magazine, was just like, oh my God, look at this drum set. So I was really happy to get my endorsements, but you know, with social media, I think it's a little bit easier because you can do tags. You can let the company know that you want them to pay attention to you. You can create content. But for me, what I did is I just went, okay, well, I'm playing professionally now. I just need to get with some manufacturers of products that I like, because you know, and this is like it's a business thing at this point. So I went to NAM here, the winter NAM in Anaheim, and just approached the companies that I wanted, and then a few extra ones, and I was able to work out deals. I don't know if company, especially after the recession stuff that's been going on, I don't know if they're just reaching out to people. I mean, maybe if you start playing for the chain smokers, you know, they'll reach out to you. But if you're on just a, you know, just a working musician level, I think you've got to talk to them. You got to reach out and tell them you've got some exposure for them in order to secure an endorsement deal. But I went up to the companies I wanted at NAM, and I had my business card, and I wrote up my social media numbers, and talked about the tours that I'd been on, and just showed them what I used. And I was able to work out artist deals with the companies that I wanted. Um, I really, I spoke to someone. I want to be with Tama drums. I really like them. I use Yamaha right now, but I am in talks with a rep at Tama drums. But unfortunately, the one show that I wanted that rep to come to was for the last Doyle tour. It was going to be the whiskey show here. We usually play two. Yeah, we usually play 2 nights, like a Friday and a Saturday, back to back. And I thought, oh man, this guy's got to come to this show because they're wild at the whiskey. They're packed, and it's LA. It's just such a great time. But anyway, yeah. So I've got Paiste Cymbals. That's a really, really awesome company. I played Zildjians for the drummers out there. This might be boring for everybody else, but I played a couple different brands. I played Zildjian and Sabian and Meinl there for a little bit. And but a lot of my favorite drummers used Paiste, Dave Lombardo from Slayer, and they have this very distinctive high-end sound to them. They sound different than other cymbals. And I started using them after I got that endorsement. I was just like, I'm blown away. Love them. And then Vader drumsticks and Aquarian drum heads. So it's really great to have those deals. You know what I mean? It just makes it so much easier because drumming, it's like you have your equipment that you use, you're beating the crap out of. Like you're the one guy. I mean, actually Doyle does beat up his guitar more than anybody I've ever seen. So he really does damage to his instrument. But for the most part, drummers, we beat the hell out of our instrument. It breaks and stuff. I mean, people don't understand that, like, that costs money. I mean, those sticks, man, they're like, a cheap pair is like $15. And sometimes, if you're a hard hitter like I am, I'll get halfway through a song and I look down and the stick is broken in half. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it adds up, especially the cymbals. They're expensive.
Yeah, no. My brother was a drummer, so I was around that whole thing. So I saw as he was trying to add on to his kit early on, just how pricey that stuff is. And then like if you're a touring musician, well, this is what you do for a living, and you're bashing the crap out of stuff, just like you said, man, it's going to be thousands of dollars really quick. And so one thing I was wondering with the endorsement deals, do they work that out like any kind of business deal? Like you have this endorsement for a year and then they revisit it, or is that kind of how that stuff works, or it's just like they just kind of like give it to you and then they revisit it whenever they feel they need to?
Kind of the latter. For me at least, it was just I was signed to the product, and maybe they review it internally. I'm not really sure, but there's no date set on it.
Okay.
So I think that they probably monitor it, just to see if you're active. It's really weird right now because really and one of the reasons I think I got the endorsements is because I get a lot of people, a lot of drummers coming up to me at these Doyle shows constantly asking me about equipment, So I don't have that now. It's just I have my videos and I try to make sure everything is visible, and I always hashtag everything. So
Right. Well, that's actually a good segue. You've been putting up, like you said, a lot of new content on your YouTube channel.
yeah.
I was watching a few of the newer ones today that I hadn't seen yet. And this might seem like a kind of an odd question, but I was looking at your setup in your rehearsal space, and it looks like your kit's pretty much wall to wall. Like, how do you get back to your throne? Do you have to move stuff to get back there?
Yeah, I basically need to shoehorn myself back there. It's like, because I'm not like that one drummer from Fever 666 or whatever, Arik, that can like do the.
Oh yeah.
He, it's such an amazing drummer. I'm sure that he could just like do a backflip and get behind the kit. I can't really do that, but I just have to wedge myself in. It's a small room. It's basically symmetrical. but it's a wide kit. It's not as bad. I mean, I use the wide angle. Well, the GoPro is kind of naturally a wide angle looking lens, so it looks more exaggerated. But by the end of the practice, when I'm really, really super tired and ready to get the hell out of there, you know, I drop a couple F-bombs trying to get it out from behind the drum kit. Oh, man.
Oh, wow. So, hey, this is a great time to, you provided us with another one of your drum covers, which is a
Oh,
cover
cool. Yeah.
from Discharge. So if the folks down in LA from Alice, if you could run that clip right now of Wade, that would be awesome, please. Hey, we're coming back, and obviously, if you've seen Wade before, then you know that that's the style of drumming that he does. Some of the time, sometimes he's going to be using a little bit more finesse, depending on the type of song that he's covering. And so, I assume Wade that you're a big Discharge punk type of fan, because I mean that kind of music for me, it just gets me going. It makes you want to go out there and just kind of f things up, basically.
I love Discharge. Boy, when I first moved to Portland, because I'm from a small town in Southern Oregon, but when I first moved to Portland, I discovered so much stuff. And one of my friends had a massive record collection and discovered Discharge. We had no access to a band like that in my small town, but man, I just loved it so much. The energy, the politics, and the lyrics, and like, oh man, like probably 5 years ago, I want to say 5 years ago, I saw them in downtown Portland, and they had their new singer, JJ. And I loved his style. I thought it was great, man. Just his stage presence, his voice was really great. They were just so good live. And then I'm with Doyle over in England, and I get on the bus, and JJ is sitting there. I'm just like, oh shit. Apparently he knows Doyle. And so he's sitting there, and I introduced myself, and we just kind of, made a friendship right there, then and there. So the times that I've been back, he's taken me and a couple of the guys out on some Stoke-on-Trent, that area of England. It's just Stoke-on-Trent. He's taken us on some hikes in that area. Really cool cat. But I love the band, and I added some double bass to that song, and he really liked it. So it was really fun to do. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it has. I mean, like you said, the original has so much energy and so much angst to it, and then in your version, when the double bass, and you can clearly hear your double bass going on there,
Yeah, yeah,
that just drives it that much more, and you're like, holy
yeah.
mackerel! Because when you sent that clip over to us, I was watching it last night. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
damn. And speaking of meeting him over, on the tour bus with Doyle, we've got about 4 minutes or so, or 3 minutes, but. Can you think of some of the things that people really love when you're talking about some of those tour stories with Doyle about the overheating bus and the OAC and eating almonds and bugs attacking you? Can you think of any other kind of things that kind of pop up anywhere in the world that, on any kind of tour you've done? There's like, man, let me tell you this one.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple standouts. There's a lot of stories, man, but like there's standouts. I remember, so we opened for Guar a couple of years ago, and that was such a great tour to do. And they're such an awesome band to work with, because the whole crew, I mean, they've got this semi truck full of gear. They have all the fake blood and CO2 cartridges and costumes, and they just, from the moment they pull up and unload that thing to like late into the night, those guys are working so hard all the time, and they're so great with their fans. But anyway, I can't remember where we were at, like Cleveland or something. The green room was below the stage. It was a really, oh, actually, it might have been Atlanta, but the green room area was right below the stage. You could just hear it going on up there, and I was standing there, and I felt this something dripping on my shoulder. I looked down, it was blood. I was like, oh shit, I must have cut myself. And then I looked at the ceiling, and it looked like a horror movie. It was like there was this pooled up blood coming down, or like Breaking Bad, when the blood comes through the that's exactly what it looked like. And it was blood from their stage show. It was so funny. And then I went around the corner and then came back, and it had been pouring down onto the floor. So it looked like a murder happened down there. It was so hilarious. I think it was after they were done, they all came down and they're like weird ass G strings, and like they were one of them Sawboard Destructo. One of them was doing a backspin, and it was just hilarious. But the other standout memory, I can't remember exactly where it was at because all the towns blend together. But it was there was one guy he was trying to start something with Alex, and Alex is not a guy that you want to interfere with while he's on stage. A lot of singers are like that. Alex is the spark plug man. He's like, but this guy was really letting his mouth run at Alex, and there were some exchanges. I couldn't really tell exactly what was going on. But before I knew it, Alex had pulled the guy up onto the stage, and it was a really high stage, but he just like yanked him off the ground, pulled him up on the stage, pulled his pants down, and then rammed the microphone up his ass. And it was right in front of everybody, and it was hilarious. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen, I think.
I know that story because there's actually a clip of it that was
okay.
circulating around. And I would love to talk and hear more stories like that. I don't know what that says about me, but it's actually 30 minutes. So, hey, man, it was so great talking with you again and seeing you, 2 months later. And like we said before, just keep finding those positives wherever you can. And hopefully we can, kind of get back to some sort of rocking normal whenever that happens to be, if that's later this year, if it's next year. But just hope that you keep staying safe down there, keep doing what you're doing.
You as well, man. It's always great talking to you. And I hope we didn't bore anybody out there.
Oh, I think they enjoyed it. I know I did.
Cool. Yeah.
All right, man. Take care and have a good night.
Take care. Have a good tour, man.
All right. Bye-bye.